Hey folks, this is Kalani. Patch 11.0.5 and WoW's 20th anniversary event are finally here. There's a lot of new content you can take part in to celebrate 20 years of Warcraft, with a whole bunch of rewards to buy with your Bronze Celebration tokens. Dracthyr can play as new classes, there are some huge class changes to get used to, and a lot of weekly content will be more rewarding now. So let's go over everything there is to do in patch 11.0.5, how you can earn Bronze Celebration tokens quickly to purchase all the rewards you want, and what we think you should focus on first. Now before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. When you first log in after the patch goes live, you'll be welcomed with a brand new quest called Another Timely Invitation, which is summoning you down to the Caverns of Time to take part in the newly revamped anniversary celebration, so that's going to be our first port of call. Remember that there are portals directly to the Caverns of Time in your capital city portal rooms, which make the trip super quick and easy. When you get to the staging area, hand in the quest and you'll be able to pick up some one-time quests that introduce you to key NPCs and vendors in this area hub. These quests also reward you with a super special currency, the Bronze Celebration token, which we'll be using to buy shiny rewards throughout the event. The first quest rewards you with 3 tokens and the second one rewards you with 5 tokens, so that is a very quick 8 one-time tokens you'll want to pick up, and the quest also highlights the most important vendors for you, so you're not gonna get lost. The same NPC also has a daily quest that rewards you with some more bronze tokens, as well as a 10% rep gains and experience gains buff that lasts for 12 hours. Do note that while the event lasts, we'll have a passive 10% buff for the same thing, so this just adds on top of that to give us 20% for 12 hours. Make sure you are completing this daily quest and earning that extra 10% buff on any characters you plan on doing some leveling or rep farming on. The extra bonus will make things go by so much faster. But if you're mainly interested in the bronze tokens in the event rewards, you should know that only the first time you complete this quest per week seems to reward you with the tokens. You can complete it every day for the rep and XP bonus, but the Bronze Celebration token reward is once per week. You can fill up the bar for your daily quest by taking part in any of the fun events in the event area, like the Mount competition, the Transmog competition, and listening to the Storytime event. You can find a note at the top of your screen which will tell you which event is coming up next, and if you hover over it, it will give you a rough time estimate until the next event starts as well. These events aren't all too efficient though, they only give you 5% towards the completion bar and you have to wait a long time between them. They also don't have any specific rewards tied to them, you don't get any extra celebration tokens or anything else for taking part, they're mostly just there for fun. Thankfully, we have plenty of other ways to complete that daily quest, and we can work towards some very important weekly quests at the same time. There are 5 important weekly quests that you can pick up at the event area, and they all reward you with 3 Bronze Celebration tokens each, so if you want to maximise your earnings and get those tier 2 armor remakes quickly, you'll want to get every weekly done every single week. The first one is Timely Gatecrashers, which asks you to kill the world bosses that have popped up in Tanaris. Just in case you weren't aware, there are 3 world bosses in Tanaris, as well as the older 3 anniversary event world bosses in other zones. They all appear on your world map now, so they should all be easy to track down and kill. The world bosses in Tanaris also have a chance to drop their respective rare mounts, so you'll have one more chance to get things like the Grand Black War Mammoth or the Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent. The world bosses can also drop item level 590 veteran gear, so they can be a good option for helping to gear up some of your characters too. Each world boss will also give you 10% towards your daily quest completion bar, so completing that weekly quest will get you 30% total. The next weekly quest is for Classic Timewalking. We have a new Timewalking event with some older classic dungeons being thrown into the mix. The weekly quest rewards you with another 3 tokens and it asks you to complete 5 Timewalking dungeons. These dungeons are pretty much the same deal as any other Timewalking dungeon, except the scaling works a bit differently now that we're in patch 11.05, so the dungeon is now scaled to us, I believe, rather than us being scaled down to the dungeon. It felt pretty much the same though, so clearing through 5 Timewalking dungeons should be fairly easy and straightforward. You can collect Time Warp badges, some lower item level gear, and they will also be great for leveling quickly if you still have some alts to level. Each Timewalking dungeon also provides you with 30% towards your daily progress bar, so running these could be a great way to get that daily done very quickly. The next weekly quest is for the revamped Blackrock Depths raid. The raid has 8 bosses total, most of which will be familiar if you've played for any length of time, but they have some new mechanics to keep you on your toes. You can queue into the raid on LFR mode, and it's also available on normal and heroic mode too. Each boss you kill is worth 5% for your daily quest, and to complete the weekly quest and earn those celebration tokens, you need to kill the last boss and get an item from him. Now, if you just want to get the weekly quest done as quickly as possible and don't really care for the gear or the drops from the raid, you can queue into the last wing of LFR, which only has 2 bosses. The weekly only requires you to kill the very last boss, so you can use the raid finder queue to skip over the first 6 bosses to save yourself some time. LFR is also super easy. As long as you don't stand in the big glowing bad stuff, you're pretty much guaranteed to stay alive through the encounters. Now, if you are interested in gearing up through the new event raid, it's shaping up to be quite lucrative. Not only do the bosses drop appropriate item levels for the difficulty, so you can get up to item level 619 gear from the last bosses on heroic mode, but most bosses are also quite a bit more straightforward when compared to the Nerebar Palace especially, so hopefully you should be able to progress through normal and heroic with less difficulty when compared to the actual War Within raid. Now, as you kill bosses and mini-bosses, you'll also be collecting these new time-warped relic coffer keys. I kinda wish they used a different name because they have absolutely nothing to do with delves or actual coffer keys, but these keys can be traded into vendors right next to Moira in the event area. You can trade 40 keys in for almost any item in the Blackrock Depths raid that you want, so if there's a special trinket or weapon or ring that's best in slot for you now, you should be able to buy whatever you want directly from these vendors if you aren't lucky enough to get it from the raid. Each boss also seems to drop 5 keys, with mini-bosses dropping 3 each, so if you can full clear the raid, you should be able to pick up a piece of gear from these vendors every week. The last bosses also do drop higher tiers of crests, so you should be able to get runed crests on normal and gilded crests on heroic for the last bosses specifically. So between the gear drops, the gear vendors, and the extra crests, taking part in the Blackrock Depths raid won't just be good for celebration tokens, it can also be a great source of gear and upgrades as well. There is also a one-time quest you can pick up for the Blackrock Depths raid that rewards you with another 5 bronze tokens, so be sure you pick that up before you go venturing into the new event raid. You can also take part in the Codex of Chromie scenario. The weekly quest rewards you with yet another 3 celebration tokens, and you just have to complete a quick scenario with Chromie. You can queue into this scenario by using the Dungeon Finder tool. Just look for the Codex of Chromie and sign yourself up. The scenario has you chase down some time anomalies and help Chromie set everything straight. You can get lower item level gear and lower tiers of crests from this scenario, so it's not super worthwhile past the weekly quest for the most part. And then the last weekly quest is for Korraks Revenge, which asks you to earn 500 honor in the Korraks Revenge battleground. You can find this battleground at the bottom of the PvP menu, hop in, complete quests, kill players, capture graveyards, all the usual old Alterac Valley stuff will earn you honor to complete this quest. With all of the weekly activities also contributing to your daily task, you basically don't really need to worry about the daily, just make sure you're doing enough to fill up the bar and then remember to hand it in. This also kinda makes the mini events like Storytime and the Mountain Transmog competitions not really worth your time unless you just want to show off your collections and have fun. So don't try to get every event as it becomes active, just work on the weekly quests and your daily will basically complete itself. It's also important to note that while the weekly quests can be completed on multiple characters, only the first character will get the celebration token reward. Every character after that will get time-warped badges instead, so you can't use alts to farm tokens from the weekly quests this time around. Now, all of the weekly quests also reward you with boxes of gear. The raid quest is separate from the others and will always reward a piece of normal raid gear at item level 597 or above from the Blackrock Depths raid. Every other weekly quest is going to reward you with a cache that contains a piece of champion gear in the first one you get for the week, and then the rest will contain veteran gear. So the first one will be good for gearing up still, but the rest will only have veteran gear, so that might not be quite as useful for a lot of folks. You will still want the bronze celebration tokens either way, but you can use this event to help gear up your alts as well. Right about now would also be a great time to check out the various vendors to see what rewards you might want to focus on. I know the one most folks are excited about is the Tier 2 Armor Set vendor. There is a set for every class here, and the first one that you buy will cost you 60 tokens. The second one will cost you 40 tokens, and then after that the rest are going to cost you 20 tokens each. So you'll be able to pick those up faster and faster as the weeks go by. There is also a vendor with a new sword, shield and crown transmog to match the Blizzard employee rewards, and this vendor also sells all of the old anniversary toys and wands. This vendor is going to sell some old pets from previous anniversary event years. There used to be mounts on here as well, but they were removed just before the patch went live, so we may see them come back sometime later in the event. We'll just have to wait and see. And then the new classic Timewalking vendor has new mounts and a whole bunch of transmog for you to pick up too. You can also buy reputation tokens for old vanilla factions if you want to get those quickly to Exalted without having to go through the big grinds. So that's all of the new content you can do in the patch to earn celebration tokens, but they're also available from Khazalgar weekly activities as well. For starters, we have multiple weekly quests in Dornogal in the new patch, so you can pick up the World Soul quest, the Titan Fragment quest, and the Delve weekly quest all at once, and they all seem to reward you with 3 bronze celebration tokens when completed. That's not all though, all of the usual weekly activities also reward tokens, so things like the Theatre Troupe in Dornogal, that's going to give you 1 event token per week. This should also include the Awakening the Machine event in the Ringing Deeps, the Rolling Down in the Deeps quest from Norbles, the Spreading the Light event in Hallowfall, the Pact weekly quest in Azj-Kahet, the Special Assignment world quests, and even killing the Khazalgar world boss. All of these activities should reward you with 1 bronze celebration token each week. In addition to that, your first kill of Queen Ansarek for the week on LFR Normal or Heroic also seems to reward 3 tokens as well, but the catch is that you cannot do it on story mode. You have to kill her on at least LFR. And then if you really want to get everything ticked off, the weekly PvP quests also reward you with bronze celebration tokens too, so keep those in mind if you're just 1 or 2 short of whatever you need. If you want to really maximize your celebration token earnings to buy everything on offer as quickly as you can, you'll want to make sure you're doing everything you can in these first couple of weeks. When you get to 100 tokens earned, you'll get the Token Collector achievement, which allows you to earn tokens from repeatable sources during the event. We know that these repeatable sources include things like killing world bosses and killing raid bosses. You may even be able to earn them from the Codex of Chromie event and Timewalking dungeons. We're not too sure on that, but the general idea seems to be whenever you hit that 100 token mark, you'll be able to earn more tokens past that so much faster. So the faster you get to the 100 tokens, the more tokens you'll be able to farm throughout the entire event, which means you really want to focus on getting all of those repeatable quests done early. Now, after you've explored all of the content on offer in the new anniversary event and maybe shopped around for a few rewards you're interested in, it's also important to note that a lot of classes had some huge changes going into this patch. Just scrolling through the notes is kinda crazy. We usually don't see this many changes going into a 0.5 patch. The classes with the most changes seem to be Death Knights, Balanced Druids, the Dark Ranger hero talent tree for Hunters, Beast Mastery Hunter, the Paladin class tree was changed a lot too, and then both DPS Shamans saw a bunch of changes as well. There were also some last minute nerfs to Death Knights and Arcane Mages, just in case you didn't see them, so going into this patch your class may play quite differently. So be sure you read through the patch notes to see what's changed and double check your Wowhead class guides to make sure you're using the most up-to-date talent sets. Now, as a cool little overview, Wowhead put together this graphic that summarizes the changes and their expected outcome. I think this may be the first time they've put something like this together. I don't remember seeing it before, but it's very easy to look at and see where the buffs and nerfs are and how much things could change by. I'll give you a link to this Wowhead page as well as the PTR notes in the description so you can take a look for yourself if you want to. Something else that's new in 1105 is that you can now create other classes as the dracthyr race, so be able to make a warrior, hunter, mage, rogue, priest or warlock, so that really opens up what you can play as a dracthyr moving forward. Non-evokers will also be able to choose to stay in their visage form while in combat, so you don't have to run around or be in combat as a dragon all of the time if you don't want to. Dracthyr have some pretty fun and powerful racials, so it will be interesting to see if we see more of them running around with this change in place. And then there are also various other updates to user interface, bits and bobs, and more accessibility options, but one fantastic change that I want to highlight is that we will now be able to use materials that are in our warband bank on crafting orders. So that is one huge pain in the butt removed for crafters. I'll have the patch notes linked in the description so you can go over anything specific by yourself. But that's everything there is to do in patch 1105 and what we think you should get done first. What are you going to buy first from the event vendors, and how do you feel about all of the event celebration activities that you've taken part in so far? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members here on YouTube. You can see the names floating by on screen. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you can find links in the description or click the join button just below the video. If you enjoyed the video or found it useful in any way, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you're always kept up to date. Thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.